All right, guys, thanks for joining us for another rest round. We've got Butch, Hiles, Gary Hashman here. We're also joined by Zack Wilds and Shaun Caraway. Shaun, am I saying your name right?
Yeah, yes, sir. Correct.
All right. So Shaun and Zack they train together. They're both going to be at the Wvgo submission only competition that's going down on the 26th of June in Nelsonville, Ohio. Shaun is going up against Zach Humbertson, and Zack Wilds is going up against George Euler. We're excited to have you guys here. Thanks for joining us. Shaun, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and about where you're at, where you're located, how you got into jiu-jitsu, and what you're expecting out of your match?
Go take an hour.
Well, no, not to take an L, yeah, but actually, if you want to get down to the nitty gritty, man, how I've on my jiu-jitsu journey and how I started. Well, I was a wrestler back in high school, and for like 3 years out, I had nothing to do, and it's just like just riding around. I'll be honest with you, man. I did a few like street bouts, like here and there, kind of like Kimbo Slice. And I've lived in Florida most of my life. I've only come up here, for like vacations and stuff, because my great aunt and uncle live here. But I guess we decided to come up here. Me and my grandma, we were done living down there. She wanted to move up here with my great aunt and uncle, so we moved up. And I found something to do, and I ran into a little gym called SVT, and that's how I met Zack. And they put it on me. I knew just a little bit of wrestling, but I could tell you Zack and Daniel were the ones that like kind of kept me going, man. They showed me that pins is not all. That's only one side. I didn't know submissions from nothing until I got my arm hyperextended, and I guess they thought I was going to quit. No, I came back the next week, and I guess since then, I'll be honest, I was probably the most brutalized person like in there, but it's kept my journey going, and those guys, especially Zack, man, we became good friends. He's seen me in my journey from a white belt to where I am now, and jiu-jitsu is been something I know I'll never be a world champion, but I just want to be as good as I can be, and I'm glad, I'm glad to, have good, and it's made me meet better people in my life,
Right. And now with the submission only competition coming up,
yes,
in your competition is going to be in the gi, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So, what are you expecting? Because Zack, I've seen Zack compete quite a few times. Zach Humbertson, who is your opponent, not Zack Wilds, who's joining us today, but Zach Humbertson is your opponent.
That's my opponent every day. We're training partners.
Yeah, right. Well, but Zach Humbertson coming up, what are you expecting out of your match with him, and what are you looking at? Where do you excel? If you don't want to give too much of your game, I understand, but where do you excel, and what kind of game do you play?
I'm just going to say this. I'm just going to try to hide everything from him, man. I hopefully I can get on top and maybe stay there, but the thing is I expect probably more about my diet than anything else. And I'm starting here this next week actually at the end of this month, I'm going to try to drop 10 pounds. That will probably be what will hold me up, is me feeling sluggish, and I want to feel on point, to be honest.
Let me ask a question. So, Shaun, what experience level are you? Since you're doing the gi, what belt level are you?
4-stripe brown.
Wow, awesome. So, Zack, are you guys your brown belt as well, right? Am I correct?
But say that again, Butch. I couldn't hear you.
Are you a brown belt as well? Am I correct?
Yeah,
Or-
yes, sir. I don't have any stripes like Shaun does, but yes, sir.
No, so I just assumed that you guys are main training partners then, probably, right? I'm guessing.
We do train a lot. Now, Shaun does spend half the year in Florida training, and he spends the other half. He spends the winter in Florida training, and he spends the summers training with us.
I gotcha. Now, how many people are at your gym? You guys have a big gym, small gym?
No, we're probably 12 on a good day.
So would you consider your gym more like for lack of a better term, like a fight gym, right? What do you consider more competition?
Yes, I mean we don't have much MMA though, but yeah, I mean we have that mentality, much more than mentality.
Yeah, no, and there's something to be said. I think, and Gary, I don't know if you've seen that. I'm assuming you have. Everybody has now that Daisy Fresh thing on YouTube, right? I don't know, you guys watch it, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh, those guys are beasts. Oh man, yeah. That
brings more, just more attention to people that train that way. And there's a difference, right? Like, because for example, I just had this, I was doing a seminar in Weirton last weekend, but we had that talk because I was trying to differentiate for those guys. Like, I don't remember how it got started, but we had to talk about there's self-defense style jiu-jitsu gyms, there's competition style jiu-jitsu gyms, and then I would consider ours in the middle, right? Where like I have some guys that compete, and then I have some guys there, this 100% hobbyists, they're lawyers, doctors, sure. They're never going to compete. And it's different, and I've got to treat them differently. And I also need my competitors to treat them differently because like they don't want to roll like they're going to die. Right?
Sure.
Yeah.
But competitors do. Like you're like, I need to roll as hard as I can, and I want to go, I'm getting ready. It's a different thing, and it's very hard as a coach. And as you guys know, you got to sometimes you got to pick one or the other. So where I'm running right in the middle, and Gary, you guys are kind of in the middle too. Where you guys are running right in the middle, it's actually a little bit harder for us. And it's probably harder really for the competitors too, to tone it back, right? It's because not everybody's wired that way. Like some people, especially if you wrestled, you're a sprint all the time, right? It's a little bit different. But anyway, I'm imagining with 12, you guys push each other hard, and that probably makes you.
Yes, sir, we do. And I think it's good for our training. It's bad for business, but good for training, if that makes sense.
100%. Well, no, and that was the talk, because that's what I told him about. I said, so you can look at these Gracie self-defense gyms, and a lot of people, talk shit about them, and I know where they're coming from. My point is, I think some of it comes from jealousy, because I'm like, well, wouldn't you be happy if you had 100 people on your mat? And they're like, well, yeah. And I said, well, there's the problem. There's the part that you like.
I'd be happy for the wallet, the pocketbook would be happy.
Yeah, your pocketbook.
It's the quality, man, not the quantity. You could have a few 4, 5, 6, 7 guys in the gym, but if they're all like studs and stallions, man, I mean, who cares if you have a whole bunch of people? If you've got 4 or 5, and I think the instructor, in a way, man, even if the instructor's good, those 4 or 5 people, he'll be able to dissect more with those 4 or 5 than you have a big outlandish gym. And if you don't have any other colored belts that are as good as you are, or their instructional per se is as good as you are, then you might have a whole bunch of people, but the quality that comes out of it may not be as what like a small gym, and I tell you what, I'll be honest with you, I've gone gyms all over, and some of the toughest gyms that I ever go are very small, not the big outlandish academies, small gyms. They're devastatingly tough.
Well, yeah, nobody's arguing that point. That's the problem. But and that's actually spoken like a true fighter, which you guys are, right? You guys are competitors and competing.
Yes, sir.
But the problem is, it's not just about making money. As a coach, at some point, like, well, I got to remember why I got into jiu-jitsu, and it's to help everybody, and that is a doctor and lawyer that doesn't want his ass kicked. But the point is, so I run in the middle, Gary runs in the middle, and I don't knock anybody for doing what they do. I just say it's different, right? And I think that came with age too, because I think all of us at some point, like somebody might say, well, what do you think about SVT? Or like if somebody's in Ground Zero Huntington, right? You guys are pretty close proximity. I'm not saying you talk.
Yeah.
Well, actually, Shaun trains quite a bit with Ground Zero. Shaun trains with Ground Zero.
I got friends over there,
Well, and that's I think we all have friends now, but there was a time, because I know for a fact, like everybody's a little competitive, right? So it'd be like, well, we're better than them. I think as we got older, I'm like, Everybody's good, man. Like,
Well, I mean, there was a time, man, I was chiseling. I could wash clothes on my stomach, man. That's when I was at my most competitive. Now, man, I'm a beach ball, and I'm still trying to be competitive, but I just can't be competitive, man, like I used to. And my body is just, I push it as much as I can, but it's like I can't ever get back the way I was when I was in my mid-20s, man. It was just I can't do it no more. It's my body is just telling me something,
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. I think where Butch is at, and I'm kind of the same way. Here's the thing: we want, as coaches, we want to help as many people feel comfortable in everyday life as possible. Whether it, like Butch said, it could be the doctor or the lawyer, but also like our kids' class. Yeah, it makes me happy if a kid wants to compete, but mostly I want my kids not to be bullied. I want my kids not to be picked on.
I completely agree with that. I can agree with that.
And if we can, guys, just real quick, make sure that we're not talking over each other, because then it all starts to mumble. But I want to make sure, as a coach with the kids that I have, I want to make sure that the kids aren't being bullied, that is my first priority as a coach. And I definitely have guys, because I've got Ohio University MMA guys. I just had one of my guys fought in a tough man contest. So we're doing everything as far as fight to try and get ready for that stuff. But we are playing this balancing act of competitiveness versus self-defense and trying to expand jiu-jitsu. And me and Butch have talked a lot about this lately, expanding jiu-jitsu and trying to share it with as many people. The Gracie schools, and a lot of times people give them flack about, because I know I've heard a lot of times the Gracie schools will be like, well, it's a points game and I lost on points, so I didn't really lose. Well, if you lost in points, you lost. That we agreed to a game.
I mean, a loss is a loss. I don't care how you think. A disqualification is still a loss. Even though you submitted the guy, you submitted him with an illegal move or something, that's still a loss, And I got a buddy in Florida that's known for disqualifications, So yeah, but loss is a loss, man.
Right, and it's not to say that a loss isn't a loss, but there is a bit of truth to it, that if you lose by points and not a submission, like that, it could be that the game just wasn't long enough, right? I know that Vince Lombardi had a famous quote. He was down a couple touchdowns at the end of the game, and they came to him. They said, "Coach, you lost the game by 2 touchdowns." Or I'm paraphrasing here, but he was like, "Coach, you lost by 2 touchdowns. What do you think happened?" And his answer was, "We didn't have enough time. Had we had another couple quarters, we probably would have won that game."
Yeah.
And so there is a little bit of validity to what they say, because maybe they didn't have enough time, and we are operating under a rule set. And I'm not saying that they're wrong, but the line that we're walking is, as coaches, as instructors, and as owners of gym, there is something to be said about trying to give this to as many people as possible. And a lot of people do frown upon the Gracie system, where they have 100 people show up to class. But that's a lot of people that get to see jiu-jitsu and a lot of people to share jiu-jitsu with. And I'm not 100% not taking anything away from you guys or the guys at Daisy Fresh, because there's no question, if you go and look at Pan Ams, they kicked ass at Pan Ams this year. They destroyed everybody. They got to stand on top of the podium. And they made the post. It was 22 years in the making of like learning jiu-jitsu from videos and rolling in the grass in the backyard to building the best team to go and destroy at Pan
Oh
Am.
man, yeah. Certified Spartans, man. And my favorite's Wiltsy, man. I watch his instructionals. I watch him roll like all the time, man. He's one of my favorites, man. Definitely one of my favorites.
Well, and why we brought this up, or why I was kind of thinking of it, is you guys could be that team now, right? You got 2 badasses right here that train in a small gym, and now you're getting ready to compete on June 26th. I should know because it's my freaking tournament, but I can't remember the date. But anyway, you guys are getting ready. So let me start with Zach here a little bit. I refed your last match with Wes. Right?
Wes Thompson. Yeah.
Clear. I get hit in the head too, clearly. I've got some problems with names. So if anybody nobody take offense. But anyway, it's a tough match though. I would say, right? You guys, two big heavyweights. You look like you're tired. Not you so much. I know at one time I even joked with Wes. I said, "Man, you're turning purple, buddy." So I don't know, like you guys, I think it was two true heavyweights going at it, right? You guys gave a lot, and Wes has a pretty good deep half game. He put you in some deep half. You got through it. Came out amidst tough match. So tell us a little bit about that match and what do you think?
I have a couple guys. Shaun's one of them that has a really good deep half. Shaun probably didn't want me to say that because of his match coming up, but so it didn't really concern me not much. I do have a couple guys that are very good deep half, but you see, I kind of had to wrestle with Wes because Eric Jarvis told me I couldn't beat Wes standing. He said that, me and Jarvis was training a few weeks before that, and he's like, Zach, you need to sit down and play guard. He said, Wes is stronger than you, and his wrestling's better than yours. And I was like, I can't do that.
Do you think he was trying to piss you off? What was he doing?
I think Jarvis was honest that he didn't think that I could, but I disagreed with Jarvis on that.
Well, I think that's why you wore him out. Because you guys did, you hand fought.
I completely agree.
Yeah, you wrestled, and I think that's why at the end there's so much little stuff going on that people might even notice. You fought. I mean, you spent nearly 5 minutes on the feet, right? I think eventually somebody, and I think it was probably Wes, just sat down, right, to try.
Yes, sir. Yeah. And I like Wes, but I could feel Wes getting tired. I could feel him not being as strong as was. I knew the longer it went, I had it. I knew it was fine. He wasn't nowhere near as strong as what Jarvis had led me to believe he was. So it was no big deal.
Do you take that as a personal victory over Jarvis? Right.
Yes,
there?
sir. I mean,
that's good.
Yes, sir. I beat Jarvis up all the time, so it's fine.
Yeah. Jarvis is a good guy. We used to train together. I think he was a blue belt under me before. That was a long drive. And
actually, I did a seminar that Jarvis had you do, and you taught a rolling toe hold that I still use all the time today.
Well, look at that. Well, now, I mean, you're going to be better than I ever was. So that's good. So I don't
know about that.
Make something ever. So that's awesome, man. Well, so is your gym at the same place that Liberty MMA was at where Jarvis was? And
we're actually underneath.
Underneath? Okay. Awesome.
We're underneath it.
So that's when Fat Steve was going before Aaron Thompson. Is there Aaron?
Stevens.
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 Right. Yeah. Aaron Stevens. Is he still around?
No. No, not really.
Okay. We can leave it at that. But
he's a hit or miss, and now he's just gone, I guess, completely. I mean, I have no idea, man.
Oh, well, here's I work I'm wearing scrubs right now. I work in hospitals all the time, and I used to run into some people that train there and stuff, and they just said that I don't know what he does for a living, but he's busy a lot and is gone. And so I don't know your personal story, and it's no big. You don't have to say nothing, But for people that don't know Aaron Stevens, he was a badass, right? I mean,
I know. I agree with that.
Yeah, Was he a military guy too? Is he badass? Yeah. So I mean, shoot. Well, that's awesome.
I think he did computers or something.
Well, yeah, but it's awesome that you've kept that. I don't understand why. Are you the only gym in Ashland? Are you guys in Ashland?
No, we got Phil Clark down in town.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I forget. They're at Helston School, correct?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Do you guys ever cross train with them, or they're more self-defense type stuff? Or
I don't. A couple of his guys will come every so often and train with us.
Yeah.
We would go train with him, but he charges too much for open match.
Yeah, they're different. Yeah. No, it's kind of.
I think it's all about the money.
No,
I'm not saying that. I mean, you got to be smart with your money, though, Shaun. I mean, we're not.
Yeah, I know.
No, it's the classic conversation we're just having, right? So it doesn't mean that we're saying nothing bad. It's just they're doing something different that you guys aren't doing, right? It's so hard. It's the classic. Yeah. I'm literally, that's why we had that talk that I was in weird. It's the classic bad, because I was like, do not knock those people, and vice versa. They shouldn't knock us for having 12 dedicated people that are smashing people, right? Like
I think oftentimes when I'm thinking about like the self-defense versus competition jiu-jitsu, and we always want to make it this or that, right? It's Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon, or is it Pink Floyd, The Wall? It's toilet paper over the front, or it's toilet paper in the back. We all want to be on a team. It's Republican and Democrat, right? So we always want to be on a team. When we really cut to the chase, you know, it's all the same, whether it's gi or no gi. Everybody has their preference. I would like us to see. I really think that if we want jiu-jitsu to grow, that we really need to embrace all of jiu-jitsu and just say, hey, that's not my style, but I appreciate it for what it is, you know?
Sure.
And we all, I always said that, you know, it's kind of like I've got a buddy who lifts all the time, right? He's a big power lifter. And I was able to go lift with him the other day, and I don't get to lift as much as I want to, but he bench presses 485, and I can't get anywhere close to that. So when I'm in the gym with him, you know, I feel like I'm falling behind or whatever, and I see him lift, and he says, you know, man, you could be up here with me, and I've you know, I've got a pretty decent bench, but nowhere near 485. And he said, you know, you ought to be here with me, and you could definitely make your numbers higher. And I said, you know, I look at it this way: we all have our own kids, right? My kids are beautiful to me, and Butch's kids are beautiful to him, and I can appreciate Butch's kids. They'll never be as important as my kids are to me. But that doesn't mean that his kids aren't important. And I appreciate the love that he has for his kids. Some of us are gi guys. I love the gi. Doesn't mean that I don't appreciate no gi. It's just not my baby. Right. And it's the same thing with Taekwondo or if somebody wanted to do if somebody was just strictly a wrestling guy. I appreciate all those other things. It's just jiu-jitsu is my baby, and I appreciate it a little bit more than I do everything else. So by no means is anyone saying that the one is better than the other. It's just not my thing. I always try and be inclusive, try and appreciate everybody, try and appreciate what they have to give to jiu-jitsu, because, you know, ultimately I want to see. I think it would be great if we seen jiu-jitsu in the Olympics. I think it would be great to see jiu-jitsu.
Man, I've heard about that for years. In which I mean, I wish they'd kind of push for that, you know. I mean, there's so many big tournaments, man, but it still ain't hit the Olympics yet, you know.
Now you see why Gary's on here. That was very eloquent and well spoken. Right?
Yeah.
No, it was beautiful, Gary. Let me finish. So, Zach, just since I'm again more a little familiar with you, especially because I reffed your last match and stuff.
Yes, sir.
What do you think about Big George Euler?
Well, I don't want George to get too pissed at me, but I actually got him mistaken for his brother.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
I think he's
going to get really pissed at you now, I think.
I'd say he probably will.
Yeah.
But dudes, I suck at lying, so I might as well tell him the truth, right?
That's funny. Yeah. Well,
but, he seems like a good guy.
This is the first time. I'm sorry to cut you off. This is the first time that Gary and I have also started to hang out. So Gary and George had some matches back in the day, right, in tournaments.
Okay.
And then, ironically or coincidentally, you know, either way, they started training together a couple of times. Not by training together, literally just a couple of times. And George came to the last Marcelo seminar. George has had a rough life the last year or two. Speaking of his brother, he got in a fight with his brother. Listen, hopefully we'll talk to George because I need to find out some answers on here. But he had a super fight with his brother at Fuji, which I assumed when I saw it that it was a completely fake fight. I was like, two brothers, like, why are they going together? And then they got basically in a fist fight, I hear, and George got kicked out of the Fuji thing, and then got kicked off his team. Or listen, he's not on here, so I don't. But that's essentially what I know, and that's messed up. That's with his own brother, right? That's kind of crazy. So yeah, anyway, yes, that's why I say he'd probably get mad that you said his brother, because apparently they don't like each other. I don't know.
I was at Fuji. I actually went against Zach Humberton at that Fuji.
Oh, did you really?
Yes, I did.
So are you giving Shaun some tips on Zach then?
Shaun will not have any trouble at all. Shaun will be fine. I've actually went against Zach twice. I went up in Ohio somewhere. I went against Zach. I beat Zach with a guillotine first time, and then I beat him second time with points. Shaun will be fine. Listen,
I like it.
Sorry, Zach. Shaun will be fine.
Gotten to trash talking yet? That's even though it's not your guy. I still like. What do you think about that, Shaun? Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I feel pretty good. I mean, hey, Zach can tell you the last guy, man, I fought. He had a turn. This what was dude? I'm trying to remember his name.
Shaun, I don't remember nobody's name, Bob.
Clearly, I can't either, right? That's how we started. I was like,
oh man, well, can see the last guy that I fought at Zach's. He was a brown belt. it had no stats or nothing on him at all. And I beat him in overtime. I'm trying to, dude, I can't. Dude, yeah, and Jack knows who I'm talking about. I can't remember his fucking. that's so bad, man. Well, I've never heard the guy.
He was a very good wrestler. Very good.
Yeah. Well, he was a Division II wrestler. That's what he told me.
So for people that clearly they're listening to this now, there's a general trend that we have a lot of head trauma in jiu-jitsu, apparently.
Yes, sir.
Right?
I probably had some. Yeah.
That is absolutely a fact.
So Gary, what's your thoughts? So you've seen these guys compete, and so for people that don't know, Gary's pretty much the matchmaker for this, correct, Gary? Did you put these matches together because they were convenient, or you thought, well, this will be a good match?
A little bit of both. I definitely have watched Zach the last 2 times that he's competed. I'm pretty sure that the last 2 times, Zach, you've had matches that I've set up, right? Or no, I don't. I
did a Fuji a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
Well, one got canceled, so you set up a match with Zach and somebody.
That's
right?
what it was.
Or it might have still been Wes, and we redid it, right? That was it.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
that's exactly what happened. So the match against Wes was amazing. It was definitely a back and forth, and it didn't seem that any guy wanted to give ground as far as the stand-up goes. When it got later in the rounds, Wes then sat guard and tried to work half guard, deep half, and I believe that it was finished by points, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so it finished by
James
points.
Hoyt was his name.
James Hoyt was your guy's name. But
that was a delayed reaction.
But
hey, I've had a lot of punches to the head too, man. I'm sorry, bro. I've done some boxing, man, and I'm sorry.
But
sorry.
No worries. But as far as looking at Zach from the outside in, and I'm not saying that this is your game, and I definitely haven't. Me and you haven't had the opportunity to roll against each other, so I'm not exactly sure. But Zach seems to like to be in dominant positions on top, smashing, passing. This seems to be his game. He likes to wrestle a little bit and end up in top side. I've not seen him be in guard or play from bottom very much. Not saying that's not part of his game. It's not something I've seen. As far as George, the match that I had with George at Arnold, and this was a few years ago, but the match that I had with George, I was thankfully enough, I had the ability to come out on top in that match. But George is definitely, I think he's kind of the same way. He doesn't really want to play bottom too much. I think it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I see it possibly going somewhat similar to the way that him and Wes went, where neither guy is willing to concede or pull guard. Both are trying to get a takedown, trying to end up on top and pressure passing. I think it could make for a good match, and I'd like to see a lot of wrestling happen, and I'm excited for the outcome. So,
yeah, I know George is heavier than me, but George will get tired. George will get tired way before I do, and then I'll take top position. But it's a submission only match, though, right? Isn't it submission only?
It is.
Okay. So nobody will be winning by points. So it'll have to be by submission.
No, you're a good point, and that's a good point. I just getting to meet George and hang out with him a little bit recently, but he is getting back in shape. You know, he was on a keto diet, lost a bunch of weight, was looking good.
Good.
When he was on that, he fought Wes Sims and beat Wes Sims. He's got a lot of potential, a lot of talent. But yeah, maybe he's a little bit out of shape now, maybe not. I don't know. It doesn't mean because you're a little bit heavier, you're not in shape. Right.
Sure.
Yeah. He also won years ago, at the West Virginia State Games here, obviously in West Virginia, he won the black belt division there. And it was just like Gary said, he was in very good shape then. And I think he beat everybody with what I call a Zagalo choke, but some people call it paper cutter choke. And I mean,
nice.
Yeah, he just basically got on top in the gi and just murdering people with chokes. And he looked awesome. That's when he was in his best shape. And that's all that we want as fans, right? We want to see you guys at your best to succeed and to look good. And I don't, Gary, are you going to do commentary again? I know obviously we haven't talked about it, but do you think you're going to be doing the live stream commentating the super fights again, or
at least for the feature matches, I would like to be able to have some sort of commentary. And also, if anybody is listening or watching, I do have a female black belt who is interested in having a match. If you know a female black belt who wouldn't mind making the trip to Nelsonville on the 26th of June, we would love to have you there and get a match in for us. So, but I will definitely try and we will definitely be live streaming it. And if I can, I would like to do commentary again. Yeah.
I think George Gurgel's got a couple of good females. I don't know if they'd be interested. They fight MMA, but Alana Kay or Alana, she's good, and a couple other ones. But here's what I was going to ask you, Zach, and then we'll get to Shaun here. What did you think of the commentary by Gary at the last WVGO on your super fight?
I think Gary is a very intelligent person. I think he is very smart and pretty spot on most of the time. I realized that my match was a fairly boring match. It was pretty boring, but I apologize for that. Well, but I think Gary did a great job.
It was fine. How was the reffing? Was the reffing okay?
The reffing was great. Did great.
Okay. All right. Well, good. All right. Well, let's get. So I apologize. I was mostly talking to you, Zach, and I don't want to ignore Shaun. It's mainly just because I just reffed your match and I have a little bit more familiarity with you and all that stuff. So let's get to Shaun, because I know, just like you said, he likes to talk. He's been chewing at the bit to get some stuff in. So what do you think about your guy? What do you, obviously Zach's told you about the other Zach. And you
Zach is already,
I really know, because I mean, I've never met, the guy in person or something, so Zach, he's pretty familiar with my, let's just say, man, he's probably got good height advantage on me. I'm roughly like 5'4", so there's a lot. So and that's the thing. Like with me, man, mostly everybody I do roll with, like I have to modify a lot of moves that suit me. Say we do something or say down for my coach teaches something, I might have to do it a different way, because and 9 out of 10 usually I'm drilling the move or drilling something on an opponent that's probably like 2 feet taller than me, and it kind of stinks, man, when you're drilling some type of triangle and you just can't get you can't get your legs locked up. That's my life, man. I'm a midget.
No, but we have similar stories at the gym, and that's what I always tell people. Like, I'm 6'6", so like I can get triangles pretty easily, but sometimes I have a hard time finishing them because I've got a big gap. It's a long legs, right?
Yeah.
The difference is I can get them, have a hard time finishing them. You have a hard time getting them, but an easier time finishing them because it's so much tighter if you're able to.
Well, yeah. If I can, if I can cinch it up, even a bigger guy, if I get to the point where they usually tap, if I can get before I even figure 4, usually they're already tapping, because I guess with my stature, it's already so tight, but a lot of times with me, I've kind of not been going for them, because like I always roll with somebody that's freakishly huge, and I don't. Triangles used to be my thing, but now it's kind of like, since I've been rolling with people that have been like I said, man, like 3 times my size, I just kind of just strayed away from them, and I'll be honest, with this guy, Zach, he seems a lot taller than me. I don't really have much of a game plan, except maybe just to hopefully just be on top and wear him out, from crossbody. That's about the only thing I could honestly think of. I've only seen him and Zach, so I know he likes to play X guard and all that. I've seen that, so hopefully I can buzzsaw that and get past that, and hopefully I'll be okay. I mean, anything can happen on any given day.
Well, it was certainly nice for Mr. Wilds to write a check for you to cash. So that was
that'll be fine.
Yeah, I know, man. He's such an awesome person. Yeah, dude. Yeah, man, Zach's one of my best buddies, man. You know, like if he needed something, you know, he'd call me. I'd show up at his house and help him. You know, he's been there for me. You know, I'll be there for him. You know, he's helped me on some opponents, man, that I felt grim, and Zach's like, no, you got it. Like, okay, I'll tell you, I felt crappy on this last Fuji that I did, and I was totally nervous. I was a purple belt. And I fought this guy by the name of Eric Board. He actually was the instructor at his school. He came all the way from Indiana just to fight me. And we were the only, like, okay, he won, from what I understood, he won the no-gi division, all of it. And I beat him twice in the gi. And this guy, I was a purple belt. He was 4-stripe brown belt. And, yeah, it was a points battle. I think I submitted him, in the first fight, and then I got him on points on the next one. But, you know, I honestly was not feeling it that day. Zach was, hyping me up. Hey, man, you got this guy. You got it. You got it. You know, I was feeling like, bro, I'm just going to go in there and gas out. I didn't have no sleep or anything, but Zach's like, you got him, and I did. I went there and did exceptionally well. And I guess Zach had more faith in me than I had in myself, you know.
Sometimes it is about having a good cheerleader, though, right? Like, I don't know how. I say that a little tongue in cheek, but a lot of the competitions that I've been to, and I think Butch, actually, me and Butch kind of met through his competitions, and Butch will tell you a lot of times, I would show up by myself, or it would be me and one other person who didn't know anything about jiu-jitsu. Like one time I took my mom to a competition.
I've done that a lot. I've showed up to, back in my other, like, purple belt, blue belt days, I've showed up to tournaments with nobody, just myself in the car. That's it, man. Like if some other got broken, who the hell's going to drive me home? That kind of deal, you know? Yeah, I remember those days.
And I've been there, but it is nice. It's definitely, there is something about having somebody in your corner, having somebody behind you. I know there, and I've done, you know, I'm not so competitive anymore, but when I was in a heavy competitive streak,
yeah.
just a second, Shaun. When I was in a heavy competitive streak, I did a lot of traveling without anybody with me. And even if it wasn't somebody from my school, like I know a lot of people in jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu is nice, where you get to meet a lot of people. And I would go to a competition that was, you know, in Cleveland or something, and one of in Ohio we have the Shaun Chitwood and the Chitwoods up in Lexington, Ohio, and they would be up there, and I knew them, they knew me, and they'd see that I didn't have a corner, and God bless them, they'd be nice enough to pop in and be like, hey,
that's nice.
And it's nice to have that voice, even if they're not, you know, they can't really help you with any technique, that they don't know what your game is or whatever. It's nice to have somebody there for you. And so that helps.
No, and Gary, just to your fact, and this is how, just so you guys know this, I'm assuming Gary and I, we both never talked about this, but I think this is kind of how we became friends. Is I appreciate good jiu-jitsu. Just like I said, I reffed your match, Zach, with Wes, and I remember it. And it was the same thing. I reffed a lot of Gary's matches, and then I would talk to him. I said, man, you did great. You just cleaned your division out. We just talk. And I said, you know, like, I appreciate you coming. And you looked awesome today. And it was sincere, right? And I mean that for everybody. Like if Zach or Shaun competed and I was lucky enough to watch it, because the other time, a lot of times I'm making brackets or helping the tournament or doing whatever. So I'm kind of busy, but every time I get to see, whether it's a kid or a teenager, or adult, or woman, whatever, and then it looks awesome, I tell them, like, man, you did great. And then it fosters a relationship. But I'm just a fan of jiu-jitsu, right? And sometimes it's cool because like I get to watch these matches and I learn more watching you guys roll and what you're doing and what's the in thing. Like I remember I reffed a tournament for Dustin Ware, back when he called it the Ohio Grappling Championship, I think is ACG.
Yeah, I remember that back then. Yeah.
And then that was when rubber guard was popular, right? So everybody's doing rubber guard. And I remember a couple of people blew their knees out doing rubber guard because they weren't doing it correctly, and they're just trying to hold the pressure down. And guys popped up and popped their knees out.
Yeah.
Like, one
they
thing
thought their knees were actually rubber. No.
Yeah, but it was, so I learned a lot that term. I came back and I said, well, rubber guard's popular now, but also 3 guys blew their ACL. So like, I don't know what you want to do.
I've never been that flexible, man. Back in my blue belt days, man, I used to do like a rubber guard omoplata, but if I tried to do it now, I'd definitely pop my knee out. I would, yeah, it wouldn't be, it wouldn't be too funny.
Yeah, it's funny because this weekend I taught it a little bit in Weirton, and it's not my game either. They had a couple questions about some rubber guard stuff, and I know it just probably like you guys, right? Like you could teach it and you know it. That's what I said. I said I can show you. It's just not my game, but I know it so that, for example, one time when I had a gym years back, probably 2008, 2009, a guy from Tennessee came that was 10th Planet, and he was like murdering people he was really good at rubber guard, and it was like, up until that point, I didn't have a lot of respect for it. And then all of a sudden he was like tapping all of my really good guys out. And then I had more respect for it because it's different. Like and I think we're all the same. Doesn't mean I don't think things are good, but it's like, it doesn't come on my radar until like people start getting their ass kicked by it. Just like when John Danaher's Leglock system came about, right? And I even told my gym, I said, man, listen, I've had to deal with leg locks my whole life. I'm not going to worry about it until you guys start tapping me out. And then all of a sudden everybody started getting the Gordon Ryan and John Danaher tapes and doing all these. I was like, well, time is now. I got to learn it.
Man. Craig Jones, all of them, man, they're the epitome of leg locks, man. I can sit and watch, Jones roll for like hours, man. And, I've seen him do like challenges, like 30 seconds, if he can tap me with something, leg lock 30 seconds, and I've seen him just roll like, moments. Like I was like, man, I like doing legs, but I don't know how to just force myself into like anything like 411 and just moments and just taps. Yeah, it usually takes a good like 10-minute roll for me to get into some type of position like that. I mean, that's crazy. So
Shaun, I know you're doing the gi, which means you have to not worry about heel hooks. But is the same for you, Zach, or no?
No, I love heel hooks. I hope we allow them.
So you're doing no gi?
Yes, sir.
And is that because you like some more leg lock game? Is that why you picked no gi?
That's one of the reasons. Also, that I trained in gi for so many years that I'm just kind of.
You're just trying to learn. No, and I commend you for that because it takes a lot to humble yourself, right? Like, just so people know, like, and Gary knows, obviously I have Nate and Justin at my gym that are amazing. And it takes, like, again, at the beginning, I said, well, when they can start tapping me out, I'll learn it. Right. Cause they're it wasn't working. But then you gave them a year and now all of a sudden I'm like, I have no earthly idea what the fuck you're doing.
Now you get worried about it. Yeah.
And then you got to humble yourself because it came from the instructor. It's whatever that phrase is, the student become the master, right? Like they're teaching me new tricks. And to this day, they fell in love with that game. And I commend them for it because that's what we needed. We need an ass kicking in the gym, a kick in the ass to get us to the next level and to keep competing. Ooh. So all you guys, and including you, Zach, obviously, because you're doing no gi and you love that stuff, I commend you because it takes balls to get out of the gi where you're pretty safe. You got an Achilles lock and a toe hold, and that's all you got to worry about. And most of the time, if you get a leg lock, I can just grab your collars and get myself out of it, especially me because I'm tall. I can pretty much take the pressure off. So congrats to you on the evolution of jiu-jitsu and what you guys are doing. I mean, honestly, like this is a big deal. Like people, I think they underestimate it. Jiu-jitsu's changed a lot in the last 5 to 10 years.
A whole bunch. Really, really has.
And that's what makes it fun, right? That's what makes me want to still show up because I've been teaching and I've been competing since 1998 in jiu-jitsu, right? So like it gets tiring sometimes, especially if it's the same stuff every day. And I'm like, God, like not that I don't like jiu-jitsu, but it's like then when it becomes a job, it's not fun, right? So I work all day. I do this all day and then I've got to go to the gym, but I don't want to think of it as I got to go to the gym. I want to be happy. But if it's something that I've been doing for 20 years, I'm still kind of happy, but I need that spark. And perhaps when it's leg locks has been that spark to say, okay, here's something new. And that's awesome. So have you had fun learning that game, both of you guys?
Yeah, I think I've had a lot more fun doing it than Shaun. But where
Yeah.
Shaun spent time.
Is that because he has short legs? Not to cut you off. Is
Yeah.
that 'cause he has
No, that is exactly why. It's because he has short legs.
Yeah.
And he's scared of them too. So let
Yeah.
Zach know that Shaun's scared of leg locks.
All right.
So we have a couple blue belts that have really. We got one that has been studying, Gordon's instructionals, and we got another one that has got, and we have 2 blue belts that have done a really good job at playing the leg lock game and figuring it out and tapping all the higher guys, tapping me and Kevin Nolan and some of the other higher belts there. So it's good training for us.
I forgot about Kevin Nolan. So he had car troubles the last time. He was going to fight Jarvis, huh?
Yeah. And if I would have paid more attention to my phone, I could have got him and picked him up, but I didn't. And I didn't know he was having trouble until it was already up there.
He never texted me. Tell him he should text me. I'm just kidding. I don't care. It was Jarvis is the one who told me, because Jarvis can't. He's like, hey man, he's not coming. He has car trouble. So we luckily found him somebody else. But it's funny because Jarvis and Kevin Nolan and Jimbo and those are the guys that came up.
Yeah, Jimbo. Yeah, I remember them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Them.
That's what was interesting. I was like, are you sure you guys want to go to the super fight? Or aren't you guys best friends? And they're like, yeah, it doesn't matter. Right. So that's interesting. Wait, here on my side, this is what I want to say to you guys. And it doesn't mean I'm wrapping anything up, but I just want to say, like, congratulations to your gym on being 2 badasses in a room full of badasses and
Thanks,
everything
buddy.
that you've done. No, I think it's awesome, man. I think especially, again, like for people that watch that Daisy Fresh, like you're the Ashland version of Daisy Fresh, and
I believe so, man.
yeah.
Dude, I mean, Tartarus MMA is highly reputable, man. I tell you, we got, like I said, man, we got nothing but quality comes out of there, man.
We do win for quite a bit. That's good.
Yeah, no, it is good.
Yeah.
Like, you need to know that you have credit for that, and that. I'm in Charleston, but I talk highly of you all the time, and I'm glad that we have you on here. And Gary, obviously, you're on his radar. He wouldn't have been picking you guys for super fights for all this.
I am guilty. I'm guilty of watching half of their posts and stuff. So every time Zach posts something about Tartarus, their training regimen, or hey, we had some rough rounds, I'm studying because I'm afraid maybe one day I match up against somebody. I need to know what's going on.
Yeah.
If it's on the Instagram, I know nothing about it. I have one of my white belts take care of the Instagram, so I've never even looked at it.
Well,
To be honest with you.
What's interesting too, I mean, obviously Gary and Zach are a couple more heavyweights, right? And it's also interesting, like, and myself included, but I have all this big heavyweights guys on here that take myself out of the equation. But you guys are some talented people that are, just like we said earlier, expanding jiu-jitsu across the region, across your state. Gary in Ohio and Zach and Shaun in Kentucky, and that is awesome. And I also say, like, here's the other thing, like, we're lucky enough, all of us, to be somewhat pioneers, right? Like, I'm in the state of West Virginia where Ground Zero is awesome in Huntington and Morgan, but there's only really there's more gyms now, but at the time there's 2 or 3, right? And we were the responsible of the guys that building a jiu-jitsu in West Virginia. And I would argue that you guys are the same in Kentucky. Look, there's a ton of people. I think Scott Smith, he's a Gracie guy in Lexington, right? And there's a ton. Listen, I don't know all the cities in Kentucky, so nobody get mad. But Georgetown MMA with Adam Gomez and
we're good buddies with Georgetown. We've trained quite a bit with Georgetown.
I've gone over there.
Where did not to get off topic? Jesse Ray was with Adam, and he's with Nice Guy. But where's Nice Guy at, by the way?
I think it's close to Tennessee.
Tennessee, okay. And they're
I think it's on that border. I believe it's pretty close to Tennessee, if not in Tennessee.
That's another group that reminds me of you. It's a small group, and of course, Adam Gomez's gym's getting a bigger name now, and they're doing kind of probably what Gary and I are doing, mixing it up a little bit, so they're having a bigger group. But Jesse Ray went from just a dude that he competed in my tournament at the Wvgo a couple times. Now he's got instructionals on BJJ Fanatics. He's competed in BJJ Fanatics. He medaled, I think, in ADCC. He might not have medaled, but he was really close if he didn't. He slept in my upstairs. So like he took off and he beat. So I also hosted the ADCC trials one year, and he beat.
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah, and he beat Dante Rivera with easily, to be honest. And Dante's awesome, but it was the fact. This is my opinion, and hopefully those New York guys don't get mad and kick my ass if they hear this. But I think they came here underestimating everybody.
Sure.
And then all of a sudden, Jesse Ray's tapping out their black belt, and he's only a purple belt, maybe at the time, maybe a brown, if maybe. And I think that's when Noah DeVore, like, he nearly beat Tom DeBlas. It was really close.
I was wanting Jesse Ray to go against Tom DeBlas personally.
So if for people that don't know, then I put Noah DeVore against Jesse Ray at the next WVGO and a state champ, and Jesse Ray beat him fairly easy. And you're right. And that actually was the matchup that was supposed to happen. And I think Jesse Ray pulled out, and that's why Noah had it. But Jesse Ray flew under the radar, right? And then he surprised some people. And props. That's basically what I'm saying is props to you guys, like, for expanding Kentucky MMA. And he's one of the guys. I mean, you guys went, all of you, and he's in that group, went against people we know, like the Henzo Gracie guys. And, listen, I'm not going to talk. I don't want them to show up my door. You guys did good.
Really nice tournament you did, Butch. It wasn't Ricardo Almeida going against Mr. Jiu-Jitsu in that?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Yeah. And we had a couple little kids go against each other it's so funny because they're little kids. They must have been 7 or 8. And now they're on my Instagram posting bikini pictures and stuff. So they're like 17 or 8. Like, what that was that long ago? It's like, it's crazy. But
the medals were the nicest medals. The gold medals from that tournament were the nicest ones. It's my favorite medal in the world.
Oh, really? Well, yeah, and that was an amazing tournament because it was like all those awesome. Those matches were great. A lot of fun tournament, and then it was a lot of fun. And people also don't know, not to get on a tangent, but man, we also had Gordon Ryan competed here, Nikki Ryan competed here, Tom DeBlas, obviously, because we had the real ADCC trials, and those are like before I even knew who those people were. I don't think anybody really, because Gordon Ryan didn't win, right? And he's the best grappler, no-gi grappler in the world right now, arguably. But he didn't win that tournament in West Virginia, in Nitro, West Virginia, which is a little hole in the wall.
Yeah,
it's kind of crazy. But anyway, congrats. So on my side, I know I got off on a tangent, but I wanted to bring that up because, dude, congratulations for being a pillar and a rock in the community in Kentucky, and especially Ashland, Kentucky. I would say I'm proud of you guys, but I'm nobody. So I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I'm just saying that I'm proud to know you, I guess, is basically what I'm saying. Not proud of you as individuals and jiu-jitsu practice. I'm proud to know you because I like to align myself with good people on and off the mat. And you're one of them. And, Gary is, that's why he's my friend. And hopefully you guys will be my friends. But
yes, sir. We really appreciate that, Butch.
Yeah, to kind of piggyback on what Butch is saying, I look at, we had a Colt Yinger was on a couple weeks ago, and he's a D1 wrestler, and we kind of talked about how he went to while he was in high school, he went to a different school because he wanted to be a better wrestler, and so he had better competition in the training room and stuff like that. But being in Athens
County, I hate to cut you all short, but my phone's about to die, man. Hey, man, thanks for having me.
Shaun, no worries. Thanks for being here, brother.
All right, man. All right, hold you guys later.
See you tomorrow.
Take it easy. But going back to it, we had him on. It is refreshing to know that guys from middle of the nowhere small towns can make a splash. And being from Athens County, we just had last year the #1 draft pick in the NFL, Joey Burrows, and he went to a school that Athens is the biggest school in the county, but it's still not even that big a school, and for him to go #1 in the draft, there's no reason now in this time where a small town can't make a big splash. You got the guys at Daisy Fresh in the middle of nowhere, Illinois, cornfields all around them. And it's just a little town. Whenever I watch Daisy Fresh, it looks like I could be looking out my backyard. And so it is exciting and refreshing to see that as long as you got the gumption, as long as you got the go get it, that anybody can get this done. You don't have to be from a big school. It's just time in and effort in is results out. And that's all there is to it.
Yeah. So what,
sure.
Zach, why don't you bring us home then with that? That's very, very eloquently spoken, man. I appreciate that. And Zach, why don't you bring us home and tell us about your gym, how people can go to your gym, and anything else you want to say, man? Because listen, you're the superstar. Gary and I are fans of you, and we're thankful to have you. And Shaun, who talks a lot and also talks over Gary all the time. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding, but I'm not kidding. You know, so, it's all good. But no, tell us about everything. It's perfect, man. Because honestly, I swear to God, I'm a fan of yours. You're the man. I'm excited to watch you and George roll because I'm a fan of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, we're Tartars MMA. We're in Nashville, Kentucky. We have a Facebook and an Instagram. Like I said, I've never seen the Instagram, but we got one.
So where did your name come from, by the way?
Greek mythology. See, I thought everybody was a big fan of Greek mythology. I didn't know that I'm apparently the only one. So everybody asked me where my name comes from.
I have no idea what that means. What does that mean?
It's basically hell. It's the prison of the Titans when the gods overthrew the Titans and threw them in hell. It's Tartars. And I was like, man, that's a badass name. We'll use it. But then everybody's like, what the hell's your name? And I was like, I just assumed everybody knew. I didn't know. I didn't know nobody knew what I was talking.
Yeah, I probably know, and I forgot. I mean, we've got a member of our team that's Odin's Eye Jiu-Jitsu, which is not Greek mythology, but that's Norse, right?
It's Norse.
Or Viking. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, we got to be well versed in our mythology, you know, everything. But well, that's awesome, man. So that I like that. And like I said, I know that you guys had a strong team there since the Jarvis days. Then I was around, and Fat Steve and Aaron Stevens, and
yeah,
and then a good connection with Ground Zero, obviously now, who's
Shaun has that connection more than anybody else does.
Yeah, no matter what, I don't know anybody that talks trash about Ground Zero, but if they do, that's stupid.
I like about all those guys, even Jarvis, you know.
Yeah, I know. Now I will tell you that even when Jarvis is a blue belt, like way back when, he was a guy that he was tough to submit. He's a tough guy, man. He's always been a nice dude, and it's impressive for me, again, as a fan of jiu-jitsu and a fan of people, to watch his wife now doing jiu-jitsu, and she's a blue belt, and yeah, so that's awesome to me. Like, because again, that's what I said when we started this, is that I'd like to see jiu-jitsu exposed to as many people, right? The good, the bad, the ugly, the competitor, the nobody, the accountant, the nerd, a little bit of everybody. But I appreciate them all, and just as much as I love you, I love the accountant that just goes and gets his ass kicked every day. That's a nerd of jiu-jitsu and loves it and wants to get better.
Yes,
so I'm
sir.
a fan. Thank you guys for being awesome. Gary, you take us home there if you want. And
again, Shaun, thank you for joining us. I know you're not here, but hopefully you'll listen to this later on. Zach, appreciate it. Best of luck. I actually don't like to wish luck. I like to wish best of skill. Let the other guy rely on luck. So best of skill out there on the 26th, man. Anybody who's listening, if you want to support us, you can go to anchor.fm and search the rest round. And there should be a way if you want to chip a couple dollars towards us to keep this thing running. You can also find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. But yeah, awesome job. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for competing on the 26th, and we'll see you then. All right, brother?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Butch.
Thank you, Butch. Always appreciate you, man.
all right, guys, you have a great night. I appreciate everything.
Take it easy.